Even though the Concord servers have already gone down only 2 weeks after the release, we've all been wondering what's going to happen with the secret level episode, but it appears that Sony is really trying to hold on to the memory of Concord. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, we have been wondering what is going to happen with Secret Level because we know for a fact that there is a Concord episode and they were highlighting that only a couple of weeks ago at Gamescom, but it appears that Sony is really trying to hold on to the memory of this game because it's set to appear. This is a Digital Trends article. It says when it was announced that Concord, PlayStation's live service hero shooter, would be taken offline just 2 weeks after launch, many had the same question. What's going to happen to the Concord episode of the upcoming Amazon show Secret Level? Now, it appeared that they really were hoping Concord was going to be the next Overwatch, that it was going to be the next massive hero shooter, and that is why, of course, Sony had purchased Firewalk Studios back in 2023, and in 2021 they entered the agreement for publishing. So it seemed that from kind of the start they were really hopeful that they were investing a lot of money because they thought that this was going to capture the gaming community's attention, that this was going to blow up in popularity. But just because you think something is going to be a mega hit does not mean that it is going to be a mega hit. We are talking about people at a company who don't understand their audience, who do not know what people truly and genuinely want. And yes, I think Concord's monetization system was pretty good. You just pay the upfront cost and there's no battle passes and loot boxes and microtransaction. But the game itself was really bad, and that's why nobody bought it and played it. So a source close to production confirmed to Digital Trends that the Concord episode is still set to air during the anthology show's first season. So despite the game currently not being available to buy or play, it'll get something of a second life inside the show, which is slated to debut on December 10th. Now, I think that this is kind of a mashup of reasons, right? First of all, I think it's already made. I think it's already completed, so Amazon doesn't want to scrap it. But I also think that Sony told them, just go ahead with it. It can't hurt. And I do believe that in the future they will relaunch this game. I think that they are going to have a completely different monetization structure, but I don't think it will be by December, which is my issue with this story, right? I think maybe in a year they will relaunch Concord. They will slap a new coat of paint on it, change up some of the character designs, they will fix up some of the abilities and tweak them and really make them what the community wanted. I think they'll add more maps and maybe change the maps around a little. I think it'll get a facelift, but I don't think it will be in 3 months when this show airs. I just don't see that being a possibility. I do think, though, that Sony probably doesn't want to completely scrap Concord because they put so much money into it. Hundreds of millions of dollars went into the development of this game, and I do think that we will see a relaunch eventually, just not in time for this. It's going to be really bizarre, I think, though, for them to do this, just because if you say, oh wow, that episode was actually pretty cool, I want to go and see what this game's all about, it doesn't exist, and all of the other titles in the series do. So I think it's going to be a little bit awkward. I'd be curious to see how the developers of Concord feel about this. Now, there is a bit of a conspiracy floating around online that, oh, Sony from the start planned for this game to basically be a failure, and they want to pull a No Man's Sky and relaunch it when this episode comes out and have it be really big, and all of the promotional material is going to help sales of the game, or sales of the microtransactions, and have people get into the game because it would be free to play. I don't think that's going to happen. It would be hilarious to see that, though. But regardless of what they do, people are just going to point and laugh because of how much of a failure this title was, because it was such a disaster for Firewalk and for Sony. And when this episode releases, I think the internet is going to get back into the cycle of roasting Concord, because now that the servers are down, I don't think people are really going to be talking about the game much anymore, besides the fact that it is a mega meme. But when this launches, it's going to kind of start that cycle up yet again. And I'm sure that all of you already know, right? PlayStation pulled the plug on Concord and shut the game down after less than 2 weeks and offered full refunds. I actually got my hands on a physical copy just for the freaking memes, but it was a pathetic situation all around for Sony and for Firewalk. And while this is Firewalk's first release, it seems like it's going to be their last. And of course, when it comes to live service games, there are companies still barreling forward with them. Even Sony has a title that is going to be releasing in the future called Fair Games, which is a anti-capitalist live service shooter of some sort. Sounds extremely cringy, and the first teasers and trailers for it got annihilated by gamers, but they're still barreling forward with this mentality, and I do not think that it's going to turn out well for them. It's also important to point out the fact that this was free for everyone for a certain amount of time, because the game did have an open beta on PC and PlayStation 5, so anybody could have, downloaded and given this game a chance, but it failed to top 2,500 concurrent players. Yes, open betas are a little bit more tricky when it comes to gauging reaction, because it's only for a couple of days. In this case, it was only for the span of 3 days, and there are a lot of people, I'm sure, who didn't have the time, but those individuals didn't buy the full freaking game. I mean, I had played the open beta, I live streamed it. You can go and watch my reactions to Concord. It was terrible, and the only reason why I bought a physical copy was for the memes, because this game did have the quickest turnaround I've ever seen from launch to server shutdowns, but average gamers did not give this title a chance, and we are talking about a very lively and vibrant scene when it comes to hero shooters and just shooters in general. People usually love games like this, especially when you can try them for free, and hey, $40 isn't even that much when new games are typically $70, so that should have also brought a lot more people in, but this game failed to meet people's expectations. And I mean, from the initial teasers and trailers being released, people were pointing and laughing at this game. So it seems that Sony is yet again proving they are completely out of touch with their audience. And it doesn't look at this point in time like they're going to magically relaunch Concord anytime soon, going free to play. Of course, it would be interesting to see this happen, and I will be keeping my eye out. But as we know right now, the Concord episode is still set to appear in Amazon's secret level show, despite being taken offline. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.